over the weekend that got buried before the game. Our friend Mary Kay Cabot put out an article. I'm going to read the headline from this article. In case you missed it, why the Browns will give Deshaun Watson a chance to come back and at least compete for the starting job. Essentially, Mary Kay said Deshaun has a chance to come back, win the starting job. It is not a done deal that he will no longer play with the Cleveland Browns. Guys, what was your reaction to seeing this report from Mary Kay that Deshaun might be competing
Jason,
for the
there
Browns?
you go, Jason. Tell us it's a done deal. Go, Tell us she's wrong and it's a done deal.
Let us know what you think about this,
can't go on in this universe if you don't tell me right now
I'm not going,
it's a done deal. I can't go on.
I ain't saying nothing. Go ahead, Jason.
I mean, listen, she is the queen of the Browns beat. She's the authority on all things Browns. She has more relationships in that building than anybody else does. The only thing I can tell you is that has not been my impression. They are moving on. There's going to be a different starting quarterback next year. Like, Deshaun will be on this team because of the roster or because of the cap
on
hit.
Paper, he'll be on the team, right?
Yeah, he'll be on this roster next year. But I don't foresee any situation where he's a starter week one.
Do you see where he's in the building?
I had that argument this past week that I would just send him home because, this is all fluid and we're still, my job at The Athletic and we're reporting and, there's still more to come. But what I can tell you is I've talked to a number of players in the building who feel like the tone and the vibe in the building is far different without him in it. Well, and I don't see how you can go back to that.
I don't either. And the thing that I would throw into the conversation is that the official voice of Browns media, Nathan Zagura, said on the podcast, yeah, he's not going to be part of this deal next year.
Right. I mean,
did he? I don't want to mischaracterize
basically, yes,
what he said, but
he called him spam.
He called him a spam sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not complimenting a guy by calling him spam.
And when
Nathan works for the team.
Nathan is state-run media. He works for the Browns. He's getting that from somebody.
I don't. Again,
let me read a quote from The Athletic, Zach Jackson's article.
Yeah.
Is this today?
This is today, or maybe last night. I'm not sure if it's last night or this morning.
It was last night.
This is a quote from his article. Watson is not coming back to play for the Browns again.
Definitively.
Despite what foolish arguments you might encounter in other corners of the internet. But Cleveland can't just ditch him without major financial consequences.
I talked to one member of the organization who said, we have enough drama here as it is, basically. This building is full of drama. Can you even imagine opening up the quarterback competition with Deshaun and somebody else? Yeah. It's just another layer that we don't need. So because there was a time where I thought, cut him and take the cap hit. You're going to be bad for a while. Just eat it now and get it out of the way. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think he will be on the 53. Personally, I would send him home just because after talking to people who feel like the vibe is different without him there, that tells me all I need to know.
Can I ask you a question? You said you were having an argument with someone where you were
suggesting
it wasn't
an argument.
Or a discussion.
Yeah.
You don't have to say who this was with, but what was their argument for keeping him in the building?
He's not going to be the starting quarterback.
So
he's not going to be the starter.
But he's in the building.
That was my point. But he's not going to be front and center of the organization.
But this is the guy who demanded that the organization move on from someone who would have been the backup and not starting, but in the building.
They are
they
are in a far different place now than they were then.
Well, and that's why the reason I bring that up is to show the timeline within 12 calendar months, within 12 months.
Yeah, the
organization has gone from him having the keys, the castle, the car, and making all the laws to now. No, you're going to do what we tell you to do, and that's the way it's going to be.
And the big difference in that was he had 3 years left on the deal. Now there's two.
And he's played terrible.
We have 7 more games of garbage.
And after the 25 season, then they could cut him.
Probably. Well, but let's see how they handle the contract. I think that they restructure it again.
I told you. Listen,
but why kick the can further down the road at this point?
Because
I'll tell you in a second.
My theory is the reason you kick the can further down the road is if you don't, you won't have operating capital in order to get these other holes that we didn't know we had filled.
I just think the Browns have too many holes. They have. I think they're better. I'd like to hear your explanation, but it seems like it'd be better off taking a bad cap hit for the next 2 years and slow building to 3 years from now when they can be good again.
You keep stretching it out because the cap keeps going up. So as the cap grows, the hit isn't
less and less.
It's less of the percentage of the cap.
Yeah.
So that's why you restructure it again. You add more dead money to the end because it's like, do you want to do you want to drown in one tidal wave, or is it a drip?
Now, what is his motivation to do that? None.
It's this.
He'll get the same amount of money.
He's guaranteed but it's not. It's written in a contract. They can restructure it whenever they want. Because
with his permission.
No, they can do whatever they want.
As long as they
that's
don't.
the case.
As long as
All it is moving around numbers on a spreadsheet. His money is secure, so
Okay.
it's just.
It's not even his actual payments are not even being pushed back.
Yeah,
right?
it's just cap manipulation.
And so here's the thought process. If they're willing to say, all right, well, look, and let's be clear, he probably is not really comfortable coming back either.
I totally agree.
He's
They cheered him.
Like,
he was injured on the field, and they cheered him. Why would you want to come back?
So
to that?
he like, listen, just pay me my money, and I'll go. If they do that and pay me my money, and I'll go off into the sunset, figure out what I'm going to do.
I don't know his mindset. He
I
probably
don't
wants
either.
to play.
He does.
He's never going to play again.
Now,
in the NFL.
here's the thing: if they do that, can they pay him and still be on the hook for the majority of his contract, but he's playing for the team?
Yes.
Nobody else is going to take him
No,
on.
they would under this circumstance.
Hang on, say it again. I'm not following.
So
we
if
pay
they
him
cut
and he plays for
It's
someone
the
else.
Steelers with Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
exactly. The Steelers.
exactly.
yeah. So
And
basically,
another team would be more likely to take him because they don't have to pay him.
They're not paying him.
Why would any team want him on the roster?
I think
Even at minimum
For
salary.
the same reason the Browns wanted Jameis.
Not at this point, though.
No. Why is the backup?
But
The way-
Jameis is not Deshaun has been the worst quarterback in the league the last 3 years. Jameis wasn't that bad.
Number one,
and Jameis is not a problem off the field.
Number one, it's not a sure thing he's ready week one.
Nope.
Number two, what he put on tape this year was so bad. It was so bad that I don't know. I'm with Bull. I don't know that another team. It's not worth the PR hit,
Even for the minimum salary.
and the drama. And
It's one thing to bring him in when he's a star.
These are really small circles in pro sports. Like they really are. And the NFL is a little bit bigger community because the rosters are bigger and the sports staff's bigger. But these are still tight circles. Everybody talks.
And
Everybody knows everybody else's business, and everybody knows what's been going on.
We've
here.
talked about the fact that this is the worst transaction in the NFL and maybe in the history of sports.
Ever.
I agree. I'm with you. I think it's the worst transaction, any team, any sport, period.
Yeah.
The baggage that he carries is he is the guy that imploded an organization.
Absolutely.
Imploded. Why would you bring him in to your team?
No.
That's why but if from his perspective, he is like, I'm sure he's going to want to, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I would imagine being a competitor, he would want to come back and have a place somewhere on this team.
Yeah.
But he did go home willingly to Houston. I think that's why I'm saying this has already happened once before with him. Houston sent him home. Like when all the allegations came out and everything, and he had filed the trade request, they sent him home. So you still have to carry him on the roster. You still have to pay him, but he's out of the building. He's not a distraction. And I just think, if it's me, I think that's where we're headed with this thing again. Is you have to carry him, you have to pay him, but send him home.
The difference between Houston and Cleveland is Houston used him as a chip to build a playoff contending team. We can't do that.
No.
Well, I've said this before. It didn't work out. You gave up the picks. He got the money. But the worst thing that you can do is sit here and not make no decisions. You got to make some decisions on what it's going to be. Because if not, the offseason is coming. And we know how it goes. Are you going to have articles like this every week? We're gonna do this every week about whether or not he's going to compete for the job, or is he coming back? And think about how exciting that is for your fan base. Oh, so we got Jameis Winston. We still got Deshaun Watson who might compete. And we got DTR. We don't even know he's good. That is not attainable. And then you still have to figure out, how am I going to get upgraded quarterback? What am I going to do? Listen, I always talk about the 49ers. The Trey Lance contract was agreed. What they did to get him, they gave 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
And he got in the building, and they realized he couldn't even play after 1 year. And you know what they did? They said, listen, we can sit here and cry about it. Shanahan went to the front office and said, hey, John, we got to get this
They got
out.
lucky.
And they got lucky.
Yeah, but he wasn't owed money.
But
and he didn't have
that's
baggage.
the huge difference
That's the
between the
difference
two.
is the money. But
And the baggage.
But they identified it and they made the move.
Yeah, but again, to back up Bull's point, they didn't have a $235 million anvil hanging over their head.
So what are you going to do?
Like, I look at what Denver did. Now, what Denver did took guts.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Denver ate the bullet and said, he's not going to be that guy here.
And drafted
We're
a
going to get
rookie.
rid of him. They drafted a rookie, but
that a lot of people didn't think was going to be all that.
Okay.
No,
so
you're right.
There's 2 blueprints where teams were like, listen, when you make a mistake, the worst thing you could do is
move on from it.
The worst thing you do is compound it by sitting around hoping it'll get better. It's not.
But
I'm with Zach. Zach is right. I have to think that for my sanity.
oh, what, Bull Red?
Yes.
Yeah.
What he's basically saying is, without saying it, and I don't want to put words in Zach's mouth, but he basically said, yeah, I know there's a report that's been out there recently from Mary Kay, and you can believe that if you want, but this is what's happening. I'm betting on Zach being right because Zach also happens to be in line with Nathan, who was part of Browns media, who pretty definitively said, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I'm just telling you, I've not gotten one impression from anybody in that building that Deshaun will be the quarterback next year. From the moment he went down, it's been pretty consistent that
that would be the most insane thing.
We got to
in
figure
history.
something
That's
else
why I
out.
said that for me, it's
Yeah.
And they don't have the solution yet. Like, it's still in season. They don't know where they're picking.
Right.
You know, like, they don't have an answer right now. I know
And
you
by
keep saying
the way,
you gotta
for
have a
those-
solution. They don't have one right now.
No, here for me, I even go back to just the health. All right, Deshaun Watson has had, 2 ACLs? He's had shoulder injury, and the shoulder didn't look like he was coming back throwing rifles.
And now the Achilles.
And now the Achilles, and we said he lost a step anyway. So now you got an Achilles, a shoulder, knees, and you haven't played in spot duty. You played 5 games last year.
He hasn't played a full season
I'd
in
rather
4 years.
anybody be the quarterback than Deshaun Watson next year. Anybody, literally anybody that is in the NFL right now.
Boy, look how far we've come. Look at how far
Right?
we've come.
Daniel Jones.
Yes.
Take him.
They can't even, the best free agent, Sam Darnold, having a great season, they can't even, it's like they can sign him because he's going to get paid legitimate money.
Danny DeVito.
Take it.
Tommy DeVito.
Take it. There's nobody. I'd start,
Baker Mayfield.
of course. I'd start Tim Tebow over him.